put myself into life.
Don't go incognito.
I like being incognito.
If I'm up, you can be up.
What's everybody else doing? That's the big question.
All right, so we're ready to go. Maybe people didn't want to do tidal streams, but let's crack on. So here are the questions we put up the other night or the other day. So it's the 18th of July. What is the tidal stream at Tidal Diamond E? Time 15:33. Who wants to give a bash at what the answer for that is?
Right, I've only just had a look at it.
Okay.
Because just getting my daughter to sleep.
Oh.
Oh, God.
What do we need to do?
A quick calculation, is it 1.4 knots, 310 degrees?
Okay.
I got 1.6 knots, 121 degrees.
That's what I got, to be honest. I'm just looking for my workings. I've carefully tidied my desk up. So question one. So high water on the 18th of July is 1703, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it no 1803? Isn't it?
So we're going to correct that to 1803. So
yeah.
So high water 1803. So 1703, 1603, 1503, and we don't need to go any further, do we? 1403. So we're for 1533. We're in between here and here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So between 1433 and 1533, it's going, I got 131 at 1.5 knots. And between 1533 and 1633, it's going 124 at 1.7 knots.
Yeah, actually, my calculations are worked off the wrong date. I just looked at
Okay.
it.
So quite commonly, it's a common mistake on these to pick the wrong date. In reality, that happens less because you kind of know what day it is.
Yeah, I was just trying to rush, so that's.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the range today, Janet?
Oh, the range. Sorry, what was the date again? I'm working from an iPhone. Can you tell me what the date was?
The date was the 18th of July.
18th of July, right. Sorry, I'm going to have to string through. 18th of July, the range is 3.4. Oh, the full height is 4.7.
Yeah, I've got this. I've got 3.4. Yeah.
Yeah, 3.4.
Yeah.
So, in order to have a look at actually where we are, we need there's two numbers on the on the tidal. Oh, stop flicking, please. So we're going to look. So the neap rate or the neap rate is what?
1.3. Sorry, the height of the
neap rate. So if we look at the tidal diamond, so if we're looking here, yeah.
Yes.
So for E, 3 hours before was 131, and we've got a rate. Yeah. So we've got a rate of 1.5 or 3, yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be 1.5.
Would it? So let's put 1.5 down here. And what did I say the spring rate was? 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you see I've marked the spring and the neap rate here. Now, now we're looking at the range. So the range was 2.4. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So we put a line through both of those, and then we come to 2.4. And actually, so you have to excuse me, I've marked that slightly wrong, but let me just erase that. So the rate was 1.5, yes?
The rate,
The neap rate was 1.5. I put a line through the neap rate and the spring rate, and then I come to the daily range, and today's range is 3.1. So I come across to here, which would give me a rate of 2 knots. Is that new to everyone, or have you seen that before?
I don't think I've seen that before.
No.
So on the if we go back to the
Mike, Anna's trying to get in.
is she? I've seen her WhatsApps and I've sent her messages. I can't see her anywhere else.
Okay.
So if we look at the, so we know that on the so we know that up here. Oh, who's that noise? So here we've got the neap and the spring range, 1.5 and 3. And you see what I did here for the spring range, I marked it off at 3 and I marked it at the neap range at 1.5. I drew a line between the two. And then I go to the daily range, which I established by taking the height of low water off the height of high water, which range today was 3.1. So I can come up to 3.1, draw my line across, and I can establish what the actual rate would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
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 So if we do the same again for the question 2.
Hang on. What the fuck hell was that?
So high water for question 2 was what time?
Sorry, I'm
High water was 10:33. Did it? Yeah.
Yeah, 10:33.
Yeah. And the range today was 5.7.
5.7. Yeah.
So 10:33. So we're in BST. So we're going to change that to 11:33.
Yeah.
And we're looking for 15:33. So we're hours after. So we can go this. We can go straight to our 15:33, can't we? So, what did we get for the rate of 15:33? Anyone want to give me an answer? Hi Anna, how are you?
Great, thank you. Are we on question 1?
2, sorry.
No, that's fine. Thank you for recording.
It's 15:33.
Bloody thing.
I went 3.6, but it was very amateur.
So I got 15:33. I got 285.
Yeah. And 3.2.
Okay, but remember we're going to do the computation of rates, aren't we? So 15:33 is 285. And we've got a mean a NEEPS rate of 3.2. and a spring rate of 1.6. So if I go back to my computation of rates table, rub out all the old workings. So what did I write? What did I say?
3.2.
1.6 and 3.2, yes. So 1.6 is there. 1.6 is there. Okay. And 3.2 is here. Sorry.
Sorry, did you say you had 285 at 3.2?
I said I had 285, and then we're now on the computation of rates table. If I can keep the computer to stay there. So the NEAPS range is 1.6. Yeah. And the springs range is 3.2. Draw my line between them. And the daily range was 5.7. Do we agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 5.7. So actually, my tidal rate today is closer to 3.6. That's significantly higher than the spring range. And we had this with a question on the tidal heights of the day. So we have to remember that these are all mean spring ranges or mean NEAPS ranges. So we do get tidal streams and tidal heights which are in excess of those. And if we don't take that into account and look for that, then we'll find that we have hazards which are completely unexpected. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So was that, hopefully that was a bit of revision. If not, was that a new bit of information about the computation of rates table?
So I was just going back to, I just have one question, Mike. So I was just going back to the tidal diamond. So it's tidal diamond F, is that right?
It was tidal diamond F.
Yeah. So if our high water was adjusted to 1133,
yeah,
then that would be +4, 276.
So 276. Yeah, have I misread that on my? Have I done tidal diamond E by mistake?
Yeah, you went to, I think you went to +5 instead.
Okay. I apologise. This
No,
might.
that's cool. I was just tracing that in my head while you're doing everything else.
This might give you a clue
Exactly
to the final answer, in my opinion. But it's 30th of March. What's the best time to sail from Victoria to Dumbarton?
Well, I put down 5 to 5:30.
So what was that based on, Peter?
It was when the tide was beginning to, from memory, it was when the tide was beginning to turn. And it was based on the fact it was going to be quite a long journey.
6 hours before high water Victoria, yeah?
6 hours before high water Victoria. And we can establish that quite quickly, can't we? So high water Victoria is on the 31st. There's 1301.
I haven't got this up.
Yeah, do you agree?
31st of
what day am I on?
the date. What was the date?
30th of March. 30th of March. So
Okay.
there's two. There's 1107 and 2342.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we flick through the, we can see that 6 hours before it's with us, going from Victoria to Dumbarton, and then 6 hours after. So we're either going to be going 6 hours before 11 o'clock in the morning or 6 hours before 2300. And our window to depart's about 2 hours, because I reckon it's about a 4-hour trip. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah. Yeah.
Somewhere between 5 and 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And cool. So we've done that trip, and we've got to Colville. So it's now the 31st of March. We're going to undertake this epic journey, and I've drawn a passage plan line A to B, and we said we're going to slip lines at 11 o'clock. Who wants to kick off with their thinking for the first hour or so? What time did you reckon we were going to be at A? Anyone want to hazard tell me what you thought and why you thought that?
Well,
How far is it from the marina to point A, roughly?
quite difficult to see all the scales on the sides, but I just, broadly speaking, I just left I said I could take about an hour. It might take a bit longer, but that was basically my thought process.
I said it was 5 miles, 5 to 6 miles, so about an hour and an hour, something like that. I always add about 30 minutes onto my department times when I'm doing something like that, because there's always something that always causes you the faff. And if you're a bit early, then you can live with it. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I had us departing point A at about 12:30, and the distance from point A to point B is about 15 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to get 3 hours of tidal stream from 12:30. And then if we look at the tidal streams, we've got 2.8. So again, I had a quick look at the computation of rates table here. And I think it was about 2.5 was the spring range. And when I drew the line, it was a little bit higher. So it came out at about 2.8. And I didn't work it out for every single tidal constituent. I just added a little bit. So if I thought it was about 20% more, so I just added 20% to all the other springs, and that's what I would do normally, rather than do 4 or 5 different calculations, because these are only predictions, and there are variables which are wind driven or pressure driven or the time. And if we just go back and have a think about the tidal stream atlas, and just taking the 2 examples I've shown you there, one of those is showing a rate of 1.2 knots just south of Dumbarton, and the next hour it's showing you 2.1. So that tidal stream doesn't run at 1.2 knot springs for 59 minutes and then up to 2.1, does it? It's going to gradually increase or gradually decrease as it changes. So the time we spend trying to do this stuff too accurately is a little bit futile. It's an idea and an estimate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's why I think perhaps tidal stream atlases are more useful than tidal diamonds, because you get a visual idea of what's happening hour by hour. And I'm just flicking through it here with the PowerPoint, but you can do the same as you flick through a paper. You can see there's more arrows than there are tidal diamonds there as well. So I was able to use the number of arrows to populate more reasonable expectation what the tidal stream was going to be like across my track as the hours progressed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so how did anyone get as far as trying to work out what the net was, or did anyone use a method for doing the calculation of the course to steer?
I was going to offset my course slightly to the west, but I can't tell you how many degrees because I was doing it on an iPhone. Okay,
that's cool. And that's a good answer. Just pull a finger out of your backside. How many degrees would you go for, and why?
probably 5 and adjust.
Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. Any advance on 5 and adjust?
0.2, 3. I might get a bit more actually.
Yeah, so I would as well. So if we look at that, we've got 1.8 and 1.8 go one way and the other way. So they pretty much cancel each other out, don't we?
Yeah.
Over the course of the 15 miles, we've got 2.8 net pushing us to the east. And it's not quite on the beam. So the equation I use is I do 5 degree. This works it's the 5 knot, half a knot equation. I'm the only person I know who uses this, but if I'm doing 5 knots and the tidal stream's on my beam and it's half a knot of tidal stream, I'll apply a 5 degree correction. So
That's a really good rule of thumb. Yeah.
Mike, say that again.
For a boat doing 5 knots,
Yeah.
half a knot or 0.5 of a knot of tidal stream on your beam,
Yeah.
you need to apply 5 degrees of correction.
Okay.
So in this case, I'm doing 5 knots, but I've got nearly 3 knots of tidal stream on my beam. Well, not my beam, 3 knots of tidal stream. So I would normally dictate that I would apply 30 degrees of correction. Does that make sense? But it's not quite on my beam, it's on my bow, and it's not quite 3 knots. So I'm going to reduce that by about 2/3. So I'd apply 20 degrees.
Right.
And it seems a bit rough and ready, but if I was to do it, if I was to do it more accurately, it would probably come in somewhere between 20 and 25 degrees. So I'm not going to be a long way out, am I? And I don't know how good helmsman you are, but you can't steer 22.5 degrees, can you? You can't.
No.
You steer 0.25 and 0.20. So although it's a bit rough, it does work quite nicely. The other thing about it is it's relatively quick. The other way of doing it is to actually apply the tidal diamond at the end. And can you see that the red line that I've drawn across is only 15 miles long? So that's to take into account it's the speed. I have to do it for 3 hours worth of 5 knots, and where it coincides with the run line is where my course to steer is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that comes out at about 230 as well. And the next slide, what I'm going to show you is, so if you haven't taken into account at all, you'd arrive at X. If you took it into account the wrong way, you'd arrive at Y. So from a practical perspective, being aware of the tidal stream and doing something about it is important. Being 100% accurate every time isn't that important, because we've already accepted that it's prediction. It's only giving you one value for the whole of the hour. It's unlikely, isn't it, that it's unlikely that the tidal stream is going to be equal all the way across this 5 miles, equal all the way across. So this precision that we're applying is rubbish, really. But as long as we're aware of it and we're applying stuff in the correct direction, then it's going to get us about where we need to be, not where we don't want to be. Another question. So we're making this passage and we're transiting along here. And about halfway across, I put my fix on and I find I'm here. Am I worried?
No.
No, tidal sweep you back.
Yeah, but conversely, if I find I'm here,
Be worried.
I'm going down tide, and I'm going to have to fight back into the tide, aren't I? And this is just at the beginning of the westerly flowing tide, so I've got 6 hours of westerly flowing tide to fight against. So if this is my passage, actually, I might plan to actually be this side of I forgot the name, Colville, to sweep myself in. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. drift on in.
Cool. What hazards might we expect on passage?
I think there's some rocks up there as you go out on the starboard side. If you're steering to the west.
Yeah, there are some. There's an island on the port side. That's about 3 miles off your run line, and there's some rocks about 2 miles off your run line. We'd need to be aware of them, wouldn't we? But yes, we need to have some mitigation for how we make sure we're not heading towards the rocks. Any other hazards?
And just beware of that shipping channel, even though it's...
So we've got boats entering or leaving a shipping a TSS. So it's likely to be quite busy there, isn't it?
The Lawrence Channel.
And the rules talk about traffic separation schemes and navigating close to the end of a TSS. So if we think about, if we pick our course to steer, as we come down here, we're accepting that the tide's going to sweep us to the west for a bit, aren't we? So it might be that we encroach on this a little bit too close for comfort. So we need to absolutely be careful that monitoring our cross-track error and our position to make sure we're not swept down towards the TSS. Does that make sense? Cool. So having done a couple of problems using tidal diamonds and tidal stream atlas, why would you use a tidal diamond rather than a tidal atlas?
Speed?
It's just in a particular spot, it's more accurate, maybe?
It's not more accurate. If you do the calculations, on any chart where you've got a tidal stream atlas and a tidal diamond, you'll find that the tidal diamonds are represented within the tidal atlas, and you can do the calculations and you'll find that there's absolutely the same numbers come up for the equivalent arrows. Does that make sense? So if we were to, and you could do it, so if we would look at tidal diamond F on this chart, which way would it? Tidal diamond F is, I think it's the equivalent of this arrow here, and that's tidal diamond E. And you'll find the same on any chart. If there's tidal diamonds available, if there's tidal stream atlases available. So that's one of the answers. You'd use tidal diamonds if there wasn't tidal stream atlases available. And maybe you'd use them if you were operating in the same place the whole time, because you don't have to get anything else out, and you can go if you've got too many pages through, and you can write the time of high water on the chart here, and then very quickly you can just look at this for the right tidal diamond and see which way it's traveling, yeah. And you can use that. So I used to use it as a baby off the watch when I was operating off the coast of Plymouth for days on end, and I was always within 5 miles of a tidal diamond. I'd use that rather than a tidal stream atlas. But mostly a tidal stream atlas is a much better tool because it gives you a feel for what's actually happening. You can kind of see where the tide's going, and you can immediately see whether it's getting stronger or weaker because the size of the arrows increases. You can get a view on the angle.
That's good to know, because I always prefer tidal stream atlases to, well, I've never used those tidal diamonds. I've only ever used the atlases.
The other thing I don't do is I never get my parallel ruler and measure these. So if you study tidal streams, you'll find that 9 times out of 10, they just run parallel to the coast. And so that they'll be modified by the bathymetry. So I kind of just take an estimate of what it is parallel to the bathymetry and lay that off, unless it's somewhere complex. And where it's somewhere complex, you see that they're not very well, the information is not very well dealt with. They show that you've got eddies or it's curved. So the information is not precise either. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So use them as a feel for what's happening and think and be a little bit more natural about how you use tidal streams in your navigation. Happy, guys? Was that a useful revision session?
Yeah, thank you.
That's good.
Yeah, great. Wish I had time to do all the questions beforehand.
Sorry, you can
Next
get
time.
through them afterwards.
Yeah.
Mike,
Yeah, great.
you haven't put up the previous session, have you? On
I haven't. I've had a problem with. I'm going to just stop recording here, guys. So thank you very much for that.